Some time back, a person asked me to write an article about the energy of trees. And I said, sure, why not? And that took me down a very interesting path of learning about the energy of trees and from what perspective might I look at that? Because often when you go to do a search, is that you will find trees as energy in terms of we use it as a source of heating. We use it as a source of building. We associate them there, you might have forestry energy where you grow and harvest forests for energy. And nowadays we have these whole story of the carbon footprint and how trees are being used in that capacity as well. But I actually took a little bit of a different turn, and I've been known to do that. And what it did was it brought up a sense of what's here on the whiteboard, which is what I want to go over with you. But before I do that, two things. One, make sure you subscribe, ring the bell, comment, like, and share. I enjoy learning with you, and something here might pop out and you want to make comment, and I look forward to that. But the second part is that I just want to go back and look at the word energy. And I'm going to do this from the perspective of that there's a physics interpretation of energy, a chemistry interpretation, a biology interpretation, and then I think that there is a more physical kinesiology perspective. And then the one that I'm going to raise a little bit later is around the natural world, where the energy of trees are as educators, co-educators. But let's just take a look at this sense of the physics element. From that physics perspective, it's not that I'm going to go into a physics presentation on energy. This is where matter and radiation come together, and it's about the movement of molecules. And you can certainly dive down into that in the quantum physics world in particular. So I just want to acknowledge that and just give a couple of words that are associated with it. Then there is the chemistry interpretation of energy. And this is where there's a utilization of physical and chemical elements. And what they're doing is that they're coming together to produce light, to produce heat, ways in which they can help us with our work. So that's another one. The third one I wanted to mention, the biological point of view, is sort of using a combination of these other, the physics and the chemistry perspective. And it helps us to understand the energy associated with the tree in terms of to grow and to respond to stimuli, in terms of how leaves move because of the sunlight, how it reproduces, how they communicate with one another. That's one of the topics that's certainly unfolding recently. And I'll do a video on that one at some point in time. But there's also this notion of energy that pertains to the human being, the human potential, us understanding as are we energetic from this mental, physical component. It's really about the idea of our vitality. And how vital are we in living our lives? And again, it's sort of like bringing all the others, the physics, chemistry, biology, again, nested together to be able to give us a sense of who we are and the energy that we have available. But the fifth one that I wanted to look at, and this is where we'll turn to the whiteboard, is the sense of the energy that trees have as a co-educator, an educator of yourself and of the grandchildren you interact with, or your friends and family that you bring to the natural world when you're interacting. Because in many ways, what you're doing is you're pointing out what is the physics of the trees and the forest and the meadows. What is the chemistry that's going on there? What is this biological function of the tree? What is it that is your biological, human, mental, physical interactions with the trees? But also, I believe that the trees are educators. Now, I'm not going to go so far as to say, like, I'm a tree whisperer. I don't know if trees actually are going to communicate with you. That's a personal story of yours. I have my own way of interacting with the trees. And again, I'll shoot a video on that one because there's always a question, what would the trees say to you? And from a history and heritage perspective of how they're being treated now and what's the story of what's taken place around them. uh, some of these older trees, these elder trees, if they could speak, and if they do to you, then certainly share the message. If not, we have to work with them, interact with them, and take the clues that are there. And therefore, what I am sharing with you is these 5 elements about the energy of trees. And the first one I want to bring is just know about the energy of trees, this physics, chemistry, biology, our physical, mental interaction with them. Just know about the energy that's associated with trees. And I'll put some resources out that you might find of interest. But what I'm also doing around this know the energy of trees is that every month I select a tree, and what I do is I share these 4 elements of that tree. So it's to understand the energy of the tree as a educator, co-educator. So the first one is just to know them. Each tree is a little bit different in terms of its presentation. We have 2 categories of deciduous and conifer, and then we've got a tree like the larch, which is a deciduous conifer. And we have different kinds of trees around the world, and therefore, for each one, get to know them. What's the characteristics that are associated with them? And then what we do is we know how that they serve. Now, each tree serves in different ways. And what I do is I go find the ways in which they are used. Some are used in the beginning construction. Some are used in the later parts of construction. Some of them produce really wonderful bowls that you can eat from. Some give you very wonderful wood planking that you can create these beautiful tables from. Some are more ornamental, and some can be used to provide the shade for your yard, the park. Some anchor better in wet soils and dry soils. Again, they serve in different capacities, even to the point of, yes, the oxygen carbon dioxide exchange, the notion of anchoring the soils on hills, ensuring that there's a watershed around and taking care of the water source that's there. These are the ways in which it serves. And each one has a different storyline that goes with it. Because what happens next is that you get to understand what might be the metaphoric meaning of that tree. So over time, people have seen how it interacts with them. And sometimes that's from a medicine point of view, and how might you use the flowers, the bark. I don't go into it from that perspective, that there are others who do. And again, I'll provide resources if you want to read up on that a bit more. But what I'm doing is looking at what's the metaphoric meaning. And I try to draw a more of a general sense about the tree. One can go into a deeper connection with different spiritualities that look at the connection with trees, but I'm keeping a little bit more general. And sometimes what I do is I give my own personal view of what I think the metaphoric meaning is. And that's where I would certainly encourage you, is if you have metaphoric meanings for these trees, then please let us know. And again, where you subscribe, ring the bell, comment, like, and share, that's a place where you can do that. And I will be putting the links to the source of the trees where you can read about them and learn more. The other one is to know to show them love. Is I think that the trees appreciate who we are as human beings and our interactions with them. And they look forward to interacting with you and with me and us together. Because as co-educators and educators, we can take them a little bit from a stilted perspective. But when we get into the forest, into the groves, to interact with the trees, to meditate with the trees, there is a way in which they communicate with us. And if you're open to it, then why don't we show them love? Because I'm feeling as though they appreciate us just simply being there with them, appreciating who they are, interacting with them, learning with them. And I would encourage you to show them some love. Now, there's times when we may show them too much love, and I have seen places where a grandfather tree has been identified, and from a tourism point of view, when you go to visit that grandfather tree, it's been worn down, soil has sort of degraded, has been taken away, and in many ways, I feel as though it's lonesome now. It's been overburdened and it's closed itself down a little bit. Whereas if you go into forests and just be with them, and when they're that alive and enriched in what it is that they do, then there is this co-education, this education that does take place. I know that, and I can only speak from a person. Again, maybe you'll let me know how it happens for you, but I would probably share, I would share that often the children, grandchildren, have really wonderful relationships with the trees, and it's though they're speaking to them. So again, listen to the interactions that your grandkids are having with the trees as well. So I wanted to give you this this presentation, to share this, is to anchor it in, because on the page you'll find this, you will find one of the trees. And so every tree page that I create, this video will be there. It's in the YouTube channel, so I appreciate you might find it by itself. And what you do is look for the link in the show more notes, and you'll be taken to a couple of pages that you can then look up the trees that I'm sharing with the world. So as a summary, I would encourage you to think of it from this perspective as you organize your events, your interactions with your grandchildren in the natural world, with nature, with trees, is come to it from the perspective of know that there's energy of trees, that there's an energy there, and how you might be able to explain it, the physics, the chemistry, the biology, this mental, physical of humanness, the notion of how they might speak and educate us. There is this energy of trees that is available to us. And then make sure that you know them, know which ones you're interacting with. It's one thing to say, yeah, that's a tree. There's another to be able to know its name. There's something I have learned that is near and dear to me, is that when you name something, you give it its name. It's sort of like it casts a spell. It's like when you share the name of the person you're with and you call them by name, it's sort of like there's a different resonance that happens. I call it casting a spell, and recognizing them as they recognize you. The other one is know how they serve. What ways does the tree that you interact with serve? And maybe do a little bit of research on the trees that you're going to meet and see how they serve, so you can explain that to the grandchildren. And that is your form of educating. And then let the trees educate you when you speak about how do they serve. And know their metaphoric meaning. The trees have really wonderful stories, and they bring about stories for you and with you. So let them share their stories with you, and share your stories with them as well. And then know to show them love. Give them some opportunity to know they're appreciated and celebrated. And that can be even to the point of just asking the tree if you can touch it, and then just reach out, touch it, and thank it. It's amazing from an energetic level, and right down into that physics part, is how we might connect just simply because of the sense of this intention and this touch. take these 5 knowing steps, and I would offer is that you'll have this most tremendous experience with the trees that you interact with. And your grandchildren will so appreciate it. And because of all of this interaction, you will so appreciate it. So with that, take care.